The morning sun cast long shadows across the fields of New Busan Colony. Kim Tae-ho stood on the observation deck of the main administration building, watching the farmers tend to their crops. The golden wheat swayed gently in the artificial breeze created by the atmospheric processors. It was peaceful here, just like every other day for the past 15 years. Tae-ho was proud of what they had built. 50,000 people called this place home now. They had schools, hospitals, research centers, and even a small university. The colony was a success story that Earth often used as an example of proper expansion. Dr. Park Min-seo hurried up the stairs to join him. She was carrying a data pad and looked excited about something. Min-seo ran the xenobiology department and was always finding new species of plants and small animals on their world. "Tae-ho, you need to see this," she said, showing him the screen. "We found something amazing near the southern hills." The datapad showed images of crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with their own light. Min-seo explained that these crystals appeared to be alive in some way. They responded to touch and even seemed to communicate with each other through light patterns. "This could change everything we know about non-carbon-based life," Min-seo said. "I want to set up a research station there immediately." Tae-ho nodded. This was exactly the kind of discovery that made the frontier colonies worthwhile. They were not just farming worlds anymore. They were places where humans could push the boundaries of knowledge. Lee Dong-woo, the chief engineer, approached them from across the deck. He had been working on expanding the colony's power grid to support Min-seo's new research projects. Dong-woo was practical and careful, always thinking about safety first. "The power systems are ready for your research station," he told Min-seo. "But I still think we should wait for the supply ship next month. We need better equipment if you want to study those crystals properly." Min-seo shook her head. "We cannot wait. What if they stop glowing? What if they move somewhere else? We need to study them now while we can." Above them, Captain Choi Hye-jin's patrol ship passed overhead on its daily route around the planet. Hye-jin commanded the orbital defense platform and the two small patrol vessels that protected the colony. Not that they had ever needed much protection. In all of humanity's expansion into space, they had only met friendly or neutral alien species. The Vorthak were traders who exchanged rare metals for human art and music. The Milani were scientists who shared research with human universities. Even the more distant species kept to themselves and caused no trouble. War seemed to be something humans had left behind on Earth. Tae-ho Quota's communicator beeped. It was Hye-jin calling from orbit. "Administrator, we have unknown ships approaching the system." Hye-jin's voice was calm but serious. "Long-range sensors show at least 12 vessels. They are not responding to our greeting signals." Tae-ho felt a cold touch of worry. Unknown ships were unusual but not necessarily dangerous. Sometimes traders from new species would arrive without warning. "What do they look like?" he asked. "Large. Military design. I am reading heavy weapons and armor plating. They do not match any known friendly species." The worry grew stronger in Tae-ho's chest. He looked at Min-seo and Dong-woo, who had both heard the conversation. "Send a message to Earth," Tae-ho ordered. "Tell them we have visitors who might not be friendly, and put the colony on yellow alert." Yellow alert meant that all non-essential personnel should return to their homes. Children would be kept in schools for safety. The few security officers the colony had would take positions around important buildings. Within an hour, the unknown ships entered orbit around their world. Hye-jin's voice came through the communicator again, but this time she sounded frightened. "Administrator, they are not responding to any communication attempts. I count 15 ships now. They are taking positions around the planet. This looks like..." Her voice was cut off by a bright flash in the sky. Then another. And another. Dong-woo grabbed Tae-ho's arm. "Those are explosions. They are attacking the orbital platform." The communication system crackled with emergency signals from all over the colony. The unknown aliens were bombarding them from space. Bright beams of energy struck the research center first, turning the building into fire and smoke. The university disappeared in a cloud of dust and debris. Min-seo was crying as she watched years of research burn. "Why are they doing this? We never hurt anyone." Taeho tried to reach Hyejin on the communicator but got only static. The orbital platform and its 2 patrol ships were gone. They had no defense against the ships in orbit. Landing craft began descending from the alien fleet. They were large angular vessels that looked like weapons themselves. As they touched down around the colony, armed figures emerged. The aliens were tall and covered in dark armor. They carried weapons that fired burning energy bolts. The colonies. Few security officers tried to fight back, but their small arms were useless against the alien armor. The invaders moved through the streets systematically, destroying everything in their path. Tae-ho managed to reach the emergency communication center before it was destroyed. He activated the long-range transmitter and sent a desperate message to Earth and the other human colonies. This is New Busan Colony. We are under attack by unknown aliens. They are destroying everything. Send help. Please, send help. As he finished the message, the building shook from an explosion nearby. Through the window, he could see the aliens herding colonists into groups. Men, women, children. All were being forced to their knees in the town square. Min-Seo and Dong-Woo found him in the communication center. They could hear the alien weapons firing outside. What do they want? Min-Seo asked. Before Taeho could answer, the aliens broke down the door. 3 tall figures in dark armor entered the room. They pointed their weapons at the humans and spoke in a harsh, clicking language. One of the aliens seemed to be giving orders to the others. It looked at the humans with what might have been contempt or disgust. Then it raised its weapon. The last thing Taeho saw was the bright flash of energy that ended his life and the peaceful existence of New Busan Colony. The aliens had come not to trade or explore, but to destroy, and they had chosen the wrong species to attack. In the hours that followed, the alien invaders would broadcast their victory across their empire. They would tell their leaders that the humans were weak and easily destroyed. They would recommend that all human colonies be eliminated to prevent future competition. But they had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping since the species left Earth. Something that would make them regret their decision to attack innocent people. The message from New Busan would reach Earth in 3 days. And when it did, humanity would show these aliens what happened when you attacked their families. Admiral Yoon Jae-sung was having coffee in his office when the emergency message arrived. The Seoul Defense Fleet headquarters had been quiet for months. Most of their work involved escorting trade ships and helping with asteroid mining operations. Real military action was something that existed only in history books. The message from New Busan changed everything. Yoon played the recording 3 times before he fully understood what he was hearing. Taeho's desperate voice, the sounds of explosions, the screaming in the background. Then nothing but static. He called his staff immediately. Within an hour, every senior officer in the Seoul system was gathered in the main briefing room. The recording played again and the room fell silent. How many people were on New Busan? Asked Captain Song Mi-young, the intelligence officer. 50,000, Yoon replied, including 8,000 children. The silence grew heavier. For 300 years, humanity had expanded peacefully into space. They had fought wars on Earth long ago, but those days seemed finished. The galaxy was big enough for everyone. What do we know about these attackers? Asked Colonel Park Woo-Sung. Song checked her datapad. Nothing. The ship designs do not match any known species. The attack pattern suggests a military force, not pirates or raiders. This was planned. President Nam Yoon-ji arrived at the headquarters that evening. She was a small woman who had spent her career working for peace between different worlds. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she listened to the recording. They killed children, she said quietly. They killed children for no reason. General Kang Soo-bin, the head of ground forces, had been studying the tactical data. Madam President, this was not a raid or a robbery. They destroyed everything. They wanted to wipe out the entire colony. The president stood and walked to the large window overlooking Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful in the sunlight, but something had changed. Something had been awakened by the screams from New Busan. How many ships do we have? She asked. The Seoul Defense Fleet has 42 vessels, Admiral Yoon replied. Most are patrol boats and escort ships. We have 6 heavy cruisers and 2 battleships. I want every shipyard in human space working around the clock. I want every ship we have armed and ready for war, and I want to know who did this. Over the next week, more bad news arrived. The mining colony at New Seoul had gone silent. Then the research station at Horizon Point stopped responding to messages. Each time, the same pattern. Sudden attack, total destruction. No survivors. Dr. Seo Ji-hoon had been working on peaceful applications of plasma technology at the Lunar Research Station. Now he found himself designing weapons. His hands shook as he worked, but his mind was focused on one thing: making the aliens pay for what they had done. The plasma cannons are ready for testing, he told Admiral Yoon during their daily briefing. They should be able to cut through any armor we have seen. Commander Oh Hyun-woo was stationed at New Incheon Colony when the aliens arrived. Unlike the other colonies, New Incheon had warning. They had received word about the previous attacks and were ready. The battle was brutal. The colony had only basic defenses, but the people fought with a fury that surprised even themselves. Farmers used hunting rifles against alien soldiers. Teachers threw explosive devices at alien vehicles. Children as young as 12 helped reload weapons and carry ammunition. Oh led the defense from the town hall. He watched through his binoculars as the aliens landed their forces. They moved with confidence, expecting another easy victory like at New Busan. They were wrong. The first wave of alien soldiers walked into carefully prepared traps. Hidden mines exploded under their feet. Snipers picked off their officers from concealed positions. When the aliens tried to retreat, they found their landing craft surrounded by angry humans with flamethrowers. But the victory came at a terrible price. 10,000 colonists died in the fighting. The town was destroyed. The aliens were eventually driven off, but New Incheon was no longer a place where people could live. Oh sent his report to Earth. The aliens can be killed. They bleed, they die, but they fight without mercy, and they expect the same from us. President Nam read the report and made a decision that would change humanity forever. She declared a state of total war against the unknown aliens. Every resource, every factory, every person would be dedicated to fighting this enemy. The aliens, calling themselves the Krithian Empire, received reports of their defeat at New Incheon with confusion. Their war leader Vextai had expected easy conquests. Instead, his forces reported that the humans fought like wild animals. They do not surrender, one report stated. Even when surrounded and outnumbered, they continue fighting. They seem to prefer death to capture. Vextai dismissed these reports. No species could match the military might of the Krithian Empire. The humans were just lucky at New Incheon. The next attack would be stronger. He was planning to attack the major human colony at New Busan 2 when new intelligence arrived. The humans were building ships, lots of ships, and they were arming them with weapons the Krithians had never seen before. On Earth, the shipyards worked day and night. Factory workers who had been building tractors and farming equipment now made missiles and armor plating. Scientists who had been studying distant stars now focused on creating better ways to kill alien invaders. Admiral Bae Seung-ho took command of the first new battle fleet. He was a quiet man who had spent his career mapping trade routes and helping civilian ships. Now he was planning the first major human military offensive in 300 years. We are going to hit 3 of their outposts at the same time, he explained to his captains. We want them to know that we are not victims anymore, we are hunters. The ships launched from Earth orbit on a cold morning in March. Families gathered to watch their sons and daughters leave for war. Many of the crew members had never fired a weapon in anger before, but they had all seen the recordings from New Busan. They knew what they were fighting for. As the fleet jumped to faster than light speed, a message was broadcast across human space. President Nam's voice was steady and cold. To the aliens who attacked our colonies, you wanted to destroy us. You killed our children. You burned our homes. Now you will learn what happens when you wake up sleeping giants. We are coming for you. The Krithian Empire had ruled dozens of star systems for thousands of years. They had conquered every species they had met through superior firepower and ruthless tactics, but they had never met humans before. They had never met a species that could transform from peaceful farmers into deadly warriors in a matter of months. They had never fought an enemy that grew stronger and more dangerous with each defeat. The Crithians thought they were fighting weak colonists. They were about to discover that they had awakened the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. War was coming to the stars, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of when their families were threatened. 6 months had passed since the attack on New Busan, and the galaxy was learning to fear humanity. Admiral Bae Sung-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching 3 Crithian military stations burn in the distance. The simultaneous attacks had been perfectly coordinated, catching the aliens completely by surprise. "All targets destroyed, Admiral," reported Captain Han So-young from the tactical station. "No survivors detected." BAE nodded. The humans had adopted a policy of no prisoners when it came to Crithian military personnel. The aliens had shown no mercy to human civilians, so they would receive none in return. The 3 attacks sent shockwaves through the Crithian Empire. Their military commanders had never seen such coordinated strikes. The humans had appeared from 3 different directions at exactly the same time, hitting targets that were hundreds of light years apart. War-leader Vextai studied the battle reports with growing concern. The humans were not fighting like any species he had encountered before. They were willing to sacrifice entire ships to achieve their objectives. Their tactics were brutal and efficient. "They rammed one of our cruisers," reported Sub-Commander Kratham. "The human ship was heavily damaged, but they still turned their vessel into a weapon. All crew aboard died in the collision, but they took our ship with them." Vexti had ruled through fear for decades, but now he felt something he had not experienced in years: uncertainty. The humans were supposed to be weak farmers and scientists. Instead, they were proving to be the most dangerous enemy the Crithian Empire had ever faced. Colonel Lim Yu-jin led the first major ground assault against a Crithian base on the planet Kethva. Her Marines had trained for months in harsh conditions, learning to fight in different atmospheres and gravity levels. But nothing had prepared them for the reality of close combat with the aliens. The Crithians were larger and stronger than humans, with natural armor plating and sharp claws. In hand-to-hand combat, they should have been superior. But the humans fought with a ferocity that terrified even veteran Crithian warriors. "They never stop attacking," one surviving Crithian soldier reported later. "Even when wounded, even when outnumbered, they keep coming. They fight like they are already dead and have nothing to lose." Yu-jin's forces took the base after 3 days of brutal fighting. Half her Marines were casualties, but the mission was completed. The Crithians had expected to hold the position for weeks. Instead, they were overrun by an enemy that seemed immune to fear. The humans introduced new weapons that the Crithians had never seen before. Dr. Seo Ji-hoon's plasma cannons could melt through Crithian armor like it was made of paper. The kinetic bombardment systems could destroy entire bases from orbit without using traditional explosives. Captain Han So-young pioneered the use of scorched earth tactics in space combat. When the humans were forced to retreat from a system, they made sure nothing useful remained behind. Space stations were destroyed, asteroid mines were collapsed, and even the orbital paths were filled with debris to make future use impossible. "If we cannot hold it, they cannot use it," So-young explained to her crew. "We will make them pay for every meter of space they take from us." Intelligence officer Ro Min-ho had been working around the clock to understand the Crithian Empire. What he discovered made his blood run cold. The aliens were not just trying to defeat humanity. They were planning complete extermination of the human species. Captured Crithian data files revealed their long-term plans. Every human colony would be destroyed. Every human ship would be hunted down. The entire species would be wiped out to prevent future competition with Crithian expansion. When this intelligence was broadcast across human space, it changed everything. This was no longer a war for territory or resources. This was a fight for survival, and humanity responded with a level of mobilization that surprised even their own leaders. Entire industries were converted to weapons production overnight. Civilian ships were armed and pressed into military service. Retirement homes became training centers for elderly volunteers who wanted to contribute to the war effort. Children too young to fight spent their time building ammunition and maintaining equipment. The Battle of Proxima Station became legendary among both species. Commander Shin Airi was in charge of defending the strategic outpost when a Krithian fleet 3 times the size of her force arrived to destroy it. The battle lasted for 18 hours. Shin's small fleet fought with desperate courage against overwhelming odds. When her ships ran out of missiles, they rammed enemy vessels. When the station's shields failed, the crew continued fighting with personal weapons in the corridors. "This is Commander Shin." Her final message was broadcast across human space. "The station will fall, but we made them pay. Every Krithian ship
is damaged. Many will not make it home. Tell Earth that we did our duty. The station was destroyed, but the cost to the Krithians was terrible. Of the 60 ships that attacked Proxima Station, only 23 were still operational when the EI
battle ended. The Krithian fleet commander reported that he had never seen such resistance from any enemy. The Krithian High Command began to receive disturbing reports from all fronts. Human fleets were appearing in systems that should have been impossible to reach. Human Marines were fighting with tactics that violated everything the Krithians thought they knew about warfare. "They coordinate like a hive mind," reported one Krithian admiral. "Multiple fleets working together across vast distances. They share information instantly and adapt their tactics in real time. It is as if they are all part of the same organism." Vextai called an emergency meeting of the High Command. The war was not going as planned. The humans were not being defeated. They were becoming stronger and more dangerous with each battle. "Perhaps we should consider peace negotiations," suggested Sub-Commander Yethuk. "The humans are proving more difficult than anticipated." Vextai struck down the suggestion immediately. "The Krithian Empire does not negotiate with prey species. We will adapt our tactics and crush them." But privately, Vextai was beginning to doubt. The humans had capabilities that challenged everything the Krithians believed about warfare. They could replace losses faster than any species the Empire had encountered. Their industrial capacity seemed unlimited. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to grow more effective with each defeat. Instead of being weakened by casualties, they learned from every battle and came back stronger. They were evolving as warriors at a pace that defied explanation. Supreme Commander Yang Junseo was planning the next phase of human operations when reports arrived of Krithian attempts to negotiate with other alien species. The Empire was trying to build a coalition against humanity. "They are afraid," Yang told his staff. "For the first time in their history, the Krithians are facing an enemy they cannot easily defeat. They know they awakened something they do not understand." The war had transformed humanity in ways that went beyond military tactics. The peaceful species that had explored the galaxy with wonder and curiosity was gone. In its place was something focused entirely on the destruction of their enemies. Other alien species watched the conflict with growing unease. The humans they had known as gentle traders and curious scientists had become the most effective killing force in known space. The transformation was so complete that many wondered if the old humanity would ever return. As the war entered its second year, one thing was clear to everyone watching. The Krithians had made a terrible mistake when they chose to attack human colonies. They had awakened a sleeping predator that was now fully focused on their destruction. The beasts were loose, and they would not stop hunting until every Krithian military asset was destroyed. 1 year had passed since New Busan, and the war had changed both species forever. Supreme Commander Yang Junseo studied the tactical display showing the current front lines. The Krithian Empire had been pushed back to half its original territory, and their forces were in full retreat. "Operation Bloodhound is ready to begin," reported Admiral Go Haewon. She commanded the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Over 2,000 ships organized into hunter-killer groups, designed to track down and destroy every Krithian military asset. Yang nodded. The operation had a simple goal: complete elimination of Krithian military capability. No base would be left standing. No ship would be allowed to escape. The aliens had wanted to exterminate humanity, and now they would learn what extermination truly meant. The first wave of attacks began simultaneously across 15 star systems. Human fleets appeared without warning, striking Krithian positions with overwhelming force. The coordination was perfect. a result of months of planning and the new quantum communication systems that allowed instant coordination across vast distances. Chief designer Moon Tae-young had been working with captured Krithian technology for months. His teams had not just reverse-engineered alien weapons, they had improved them in ways the original creators never imagined. The hybrid plasma torpedoes are ready for deployment, he reported to Admiral Go. They use Krithian energy projection systems combined with human targeting computers. The result is a weapon 3 times more effective than anything either species had before. The Krithians discovered this when the human fleet attacked their fortress at Zethmar. The base had been considered impregnable, protected by shields that had never been breached. The hybrid weapons cut through the defenses like they were made of paper. War-leader. Vextai watched the destruction from his command ship and felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine fear. The humans were not just defeating his forces, they were doing it with Krithian technology that they had somehow made superior to the original designs. How is this possible? He demanded of his science advisor. The humans appear to understand our technology better than we do, came the disturbing reply. They see possibilities that we missed. It is as if they are naturally superior engineers. The psychological impact on Krithian forces was becoming more important than the physical damage. Intercepted communications analyst Kim Da-yoon had been monitoring enemy transmissions and discovered something significant. They are calling us the pack hunters in their communications, she reported to Yang. Krithian soldiers are afraid to engage small human units because they know larger forces will appear to support them. They think we hunt like wild animals. This fear was not without reason. Human tactics had evolved beyond traditional military doctrine. When Krithian forces encountered what appeared to be a single human ship, they found themselves facing coordinated attacks from multiple directions as additional human vessels appeared. To support their comrade, Colonel Park Jin-woo had been studying these pack hunting tactics with his marine units. His forces had perfected the art of appearing weak until the moment of attack, then overwhelming the enemy with superior numbers and firepower. The Krithians still think in terms of individual battles, he explained to his officers. They do not understand that every human unit is part of a larger organism. When they attack one of us, they are actually attacking all of us. This philosophy was demonstrated during the Battle of Korath Prime. A single human reconnaissance ship was attacked by 6 Krithian vessels. Within minutes, 50 human ships had responded to the distress call, turning what the Krithians thought was an easy victory into a massacre. The Krithian High Command attempted to negotiate with other alien species, hoping to build a coalition against humanity. But their reputation for conquest and destruction made finding allies difficult. Most species preferred to remain neutral, rather than risk becoming targets of human retribution. Diplomatic attaché Jung Woo-jin was monitoring these negotiations and discovered something that concerned human leadership. Several species that had been friendly with humanity were now requesting security guarantees. They are afraid of us, Jung reported to President Nam. They see what we have become and worry that we might turn on them next. President Nam understood their concerns. Humanity had transformed from peaceful explorers into efficient killers in less than 2 years. The change was so dramatic that even their former allies were uncertain about human intentions. We fight only those who threaten us, she declared in a broadcast to all allied species. But we will defend ourselves with whatever force is necessary. The Krithian Empire made one final attempt to stop the human advance. They gathered their remaining forces for a massive battle at the Vextar system, hoping to inflict enough casualties on humanity to force a negotiated peace. Admiral Bae Seung-ho commanded the human response. His fleet was smaller than the Krithian force, but the humans had advantages that went beyond simple numbers. Their ships were newer, their weapons more advanced, and their crews fought with a unity that the Krithians could not match. The battle lasted 3 days and ended with the complete destruction of the Krithian fleet. Of the 400 alien ships that participated in the battle, fewer than 50 escaped. The human losses were less than 10% of their force. Send a message to the Krithian High Command, BAE ordered after the battle. Tell them that this is what happens when they try to stand against us. Tell them that we are coming for their homeworld. The message was more than just propaganda. Human industrial capacity had reached levels that seemed impossible to outside observers. Automated factories could produce complete warships in weeks rather than months. Resource extraction systems could strip entire asteroids in days. Dr. Lee Hunja, who had been studying the economic impact of the war, presented her findings to the leadership. We are producing military equipment at a rate that exceeds the total industrial output of the Crithian Empire. They cannot match our manufacturing capacity, even if they convert their entire economy to war production. The Crithians were learning this harsh reality as human forces systematically destroyed their infrastructure. Every base that fell was replaced by human facilities designed to support further military operations. The humans were not just conquering territory. They were building a permanent military presence designed to prevent future Crithian expansion. War-leader. Vextai received reports that human forces had captured 3 more star systems and were building massive shipyards in each location. The humans were not planning a temporary occupation. They intended to stay and build a military presence that would last for generations. They fight like they intend to rule the galaxy, observed Sub-Commander Kratham. Every victory makes them stronger. Every defeat makes us weaker. Vextai finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. The Crithian Empire had attacked what they thought was a weak species of farmers and scientists. Instead, they had awakened predators who possessed industrial and military capabilities that exceeded their own. The humans had not just adapted to warfare, they had embraced it completely. Their entire civilization was now focused on military efficiency and the destruction of their enemies. They had become something that the Crithians had never encountered before, a species that grew, stronger through conflict. As human forces closed in on the core systems of the Crithian Empire, one fact became clear to everyone watching the war. The aliens had made a fatal error when they chose to attack human colonies. They had awakened sleeping giants who would not rest until their enemies were completely destroyed. The beasts were no longer just hunting. They were preparing for the final kill, and the Crithian Empire was running out of places to hide. 18 months after the destruction of New Busan, Grand Admiral Park Ji-won stood before the largest fleet ever assembled by humanity. 3,000 ships filled the space around the staging area, their hulls gleaming with weapons that had been unimaginable when the war began. The target was the Crithian homeworld itself. Today we finish what they started, Park announced to his fleet commanders. The species that murdered our children will learn the price of awakening humanity's rage. The Crithian Empire had been reduced to its core systems. Emperor Vorthak watched from his palace as human fleets systematically destroyed the outer defenses of his homeworld. The orbital weapons platforms that had protected Crythia for thousands of years were being methodically eliminated by weapons that seemed to come from a nightmare. The humans had brought planet crackers, orbital bombardment, systems capable of splitting continents. Automated war factories dropped from space like seeds, establishing production facilities that could manufacture weapons and ammunition in real time during the battle. Marine drop pods fell like rain, carrying soldiers who had become legendary across the galaxy for their effectiveness. Colonel Sim Kyung-ho led the first wave of ground forces onto the Crithian capital world. His Marines had evolved far beyond the peacekeepers they had once been. Every soldier was equipped with powered armor that incorporated the best of both human and Crithian technology. Their weapons could adapt to any threat in seconds. Remember, Kyung-ho told his troops as they prepared for the final assault, "They showed no mercy to our families. We show them the same courtesy." The battle for Crythia was unlike anything in recorded history. The humans fought with mechanical precision, coordinating ground and orbital forces with an efficiency that terrified the defending Crithians. Every human unit seemed to know exactly what every other unit was doing, creating a level of battlefield awareness that made resistance nearly impossible. Dr. An Sumi had been studying the psychological changes in human society throughout the war. Her reports made disturbing reading for the political leadership back on Earth. The gentle species that had once explored space with wonder had become something fundamentally different. We have awakened predatory instincts that may never go dormant. Again, she reported to President Nam. The humans fighting on Krithia are not the same species that left Earth 2 years ago. War has changed us at a genetic level. Emperor Vorthak made one final broadcast as human forces closed in on his capital city. His message was not directed at humanity, but at every other species in the galaxy. Beware the humans, he warned. We thought they were weak farmers who could be easily conquered. We were wrong. They are not just warriors, they are the most dangerous predators this galaxy has ever produced. They do not just defeat their enemies, they consume them completely. The warning came too late for his own species. Human forces had surrounded the Imperial Palace and were demanding unconditional surrender. The Krithian military, once the terror of dozens of worlds, had been reduced to a few thousand soldiers hiding in underground bunkers. Admiral Yoon Jae-sung, now commanding the home defense of Earth, received regular reports from the front lines. Each message told the same story: complete human victory and total Krithian collapse. But the reports also contained something that worried him deeply. The human forces were no longer just winning battles. They were enjoying them. Combat footage showed Marines laughing as they destroyed Krithian positions. Ship crews celebrated each enemy vessel they destroyed as if it were a game. The war had awakened something in humanity that went beyond simple self-dash. Defense. Commander Oh Hyun-woo, the hero of New Incheon, had been promoted to lead an entire battle group. His forces had perfected techniques for completely eliminating enemy resistance while suffering minimal casualties, but his methods were so efficient that they had become routine, almost casual. Target eliminated, he reported after destroying a Krithian base. No survivors. Moving to next objective. The systematic nature of the human advance had created a new form of warfare. The aliens were not being defeated in battle. They were being processed like materials in a factory. Human forces would arrive, analyze the enemy position, apply the appropriate level of force, and move on to the next target. Emperor Vorthak finally surrendered when human forces breached the final defenses of his palace. The once mighty ruler of dozens of worlds knelt before human marines who looked at him with the same interest they might show a piece of machinery. The Krithian Empire surrenders unconditionally, he declared. We accept whatever terms humanity chooses to impose. But Park Ji-won's response showed how completely the war had changed human thinking. There are no terms. Your military forces will be completely eliminated. Your government will be dissolved. Your species will be relocated to worlds where you can do no harm. President Nam Yoon-ji faced a choice that would define humanity's future. The war was won, but victory had transformed her species into something that might be more dangerous than the original threat. Human fleets now numbered in the thousands. Human industrial capacity could produce weapons that made the old Krithian Empire look primitive. Most importantly, humanity had learned that they were exceptionally good at warfare. Not just capable, but superior to any species they had encountered. The peaceful expansion that had characterized human space exploration was ending. In its place was something that made other species nervous. The Milani Republic, once close allies of humanity, sent a diplomatic message requesting assurances about human intentions. The Vorthak Confederacy quietly began strengthening their military forces. Even species that had never interacted with humans started preparing for the possibility of future conflict. Xenopsychologist Dr. Kim Young-soo had been studying the broader implications of humanity's transformation. His conclusions were sobering. We have become what we feared. The gentle explorers are gone. In their place is a species optimized for conquest. The final human victory parade on Earth drew millions of spectators, but the celebration felt different from the peaceful festivals of the past. The soldiers marching through the streets carried weapons that could level cities. The ships flying overhead could crack planets. The crowd cheered, but there was something predatory in their enthusiasm. Admiral Go Hae-won, now one of humanity's most decorated officers, gave an interview that was broadcast across human space. When asked about the future, her response revealed how completely the war had changed human thinking. We know what we are now, she said. We are not the peaceful farmers the aliens thought they were attacking. We are the most effective military force in the galaxy. The question is not whether we will use this power again, but when. Other alien civilizations watched the interview and began making their own preparations. The humans had defeated the Crithian Empire so completely that the very concept of resistance seemed futile. But more disturbing was the obvious satisfaction humanity took in their military superiority. Emperor Vorthak, now a prisoner awaiting relocation, made one final statement before disappearing into human custody. We awakened something that should have remained sleeping. The humans were peaceful because they chose to be, not because they had to be. Now they know what they are capable of, and the galaxy will never be the same. President Nam stood in her office looking out at the expanded fleet yards orbiting Earth. Construction continued around the clock, building ships for an empire that officially did not exist yet. The transformation was complete. Humanity had become the dominant military power in known space. The question now was what they would do with that power. The peaceful expansion of the past was no longer possible. Too many other species were afraid, and humanity itself had changed too much to return to its former innocence. As she watched the new ships being launched, Nam realized that the Crithians had succeeded in one way they never intended. They had wanted to eliminate humanity as a threat to galactic peace. Instead, they had created the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, a species that was not only capable of conquest but was beginning to enjoy it. The beasts were fully awake now, and they had tasted victory. The only question remaining was whether they could control their hunger, or whether the galaxy would learn to fear the name human as much as it once feared the Crithian Empire. The war was over. But something far more dangerous was just beginning.